Jesus reveals the love of the Father, the unconditional love of the Father, is the lesson from the prodigal son parable. Jesus teaches us about the prodigal son in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15. Jesus continued, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare? And here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fatted calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' So they began to celebrate." Jesus teaches here that you cannot earn salvation through works. The son could not work his way back into his father's good graces. Jesus tells us this in the Gospel of Matthew. "For I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and of the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven." Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. "Your brother has come," he replied, "and your father has killed the fatted calf because he has him back safe and sound." The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, "Look, all these years I have been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friend. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fatted calf for him." Notice how the older son does not call the younger son his brother, but just says to his father, "This son of yours." "My son," the father said, "you are always with me, and everything I have is yours." But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. The true God is a God of unconditional love, loving us while we were still sinners. Romans chapter 5 verses 6 to 8. You see, at just the right time, when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. Very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good person someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Jesus says clearly that he would die and be raised back to life again as a ransom for the sins of man. Mark 10:45. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and give his life as a ransom for many. To better understand what Jesus is telling us about the unconditional love of God, look at Jesus in the Passover. particularly the meaning of the 4 cups of wine, especially the cup of redemption. Now let's get a better understanding of the 4 cups of wine used in the Passover meal to understand the redemption that comes from Jesus. 4 key passages. I will bring, I will free you, I will redeem, I will take you. Exodus 6, verses 6 to 7. Therefore, say to the Israelites, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. I will free you from being slaves to them, and I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with mighty acts of judgment. I will take you as my own people, and I will be your God. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God, who brought you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. On the night in which he was betrayed, at his last supper, the Lord's table, Jesus drank the 3rd cup of wine, the cup of redemption. Matthew 26, verses 27 to 28. Then he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, Drink from it, all of you. This is the blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. How can we be sure that it was the 3rd cup that Jesus was drinking? Well, the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 11 gives us very precise details. Verse 25, In the same way, after supper he took the cup, saying, This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this whenever you drink it in remembrance of me. Paul is telling us here that this cup was taken after supper, which would be the 3rd cup of wine.